I can't remember a time in my life where going to church wasn't part of my routine.
I was raised rougher, I had a harder upbringing, and I had to find Jesus as a reject.
My parents were not believers. My friend brought me to church camp. I heard the gospel for the first time, and I immediately just clung to it. Over a period of probably 10 to 15 years, all my family members came to know Jesus.
I went to many David Crowder Band concerts and Chris Tomlin, and just getting that feeling of being in the same room as 10,000 other people, just realizing this is a small taste of what heaven will be like someday.
More and more over the last 5 years, I've realized that God's grace is what we need and what we need to live for.
Went for a drive one evening and just went up to Reddington Road, watched the city lights, prayed to God right there, and I really felt the power of the Holy Spirit on me at that time. I was very surprised, coming into New Life with it being a substantially larger church, of how it still had a small church feel.
I'd actually been praying about, wanting to come back to maybe a bigger congregation.
People are genuine with one another. There wasn't this facade that people put on.
From seeing the posters, worship first, capture second, to seeing the army of people that come in every single week excited. Also hearing that they're essentially, told to take weeks off.
With you and John going together as co-pastors and co-leaders of the church, I feel like you're both humble.
We just signed up for the meal team and we're going to be helping out wherever we can there because they blessed us when I was in the hospital. Church is not just Sunday morning. It's all the times. It's the trunk or treats. It's the India missions. It's the Love Tucson. It's all the things that we do as a church, and we can't do every single one. But as long as you're involving yourself in as many of those things as you possibly can, that's when you really become part of the church. It's not just showing up on Sunday and worshiping and leaving.
If you could talk to yourself 15 years ago, what's the one thing you'd want to say?
Don't change a thing. Because 15 years ago, my life was so upside down, but if I didn't do everything I did now, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have my wife. I wouldn't have my kids. I wouldn't have the job I had. I'd probably be in prison. I wouldn't change a thing. Like you said something profound to me the last time we met, because I said to you, how does my life versus her life compare in God's eyes? And he's like, well, you would prefer a life of her, someone who wasn't a reject or a derelict or whatever, but he seeks the people like me. And so I'm realizing more and more that I just have to follow this seeking.
I got saved by sitting on my couch watching TV, and the Lord used them. And they told me that there was a slate and it had everything I had ever done on it. Good, bad, and everything. He wanted to wipe it out, and he could, and he wanted to forgive because of what he did on the cross. I said, Lord, I really want to be forgiven for all that.
So it was actually in worship at New Life, just kind of grappling with some decisions to be made, really feeling a very sure, calm assurance for me to move in a certain direction from the Holy Spirit, and just encouraging me that this is what I have for you.
I went to bed and I was praising God, and I was laying there, and this sound came from my balcony, just and I went, I love Jesus. I know I love Jesus. I know he loves me. And it goes, ha ha ha, that's what you think. And I said, ha ha ha, that's what I know. And it was gone. It never, ever bothered me again.
My sister and I got to share the last few moments with my grandmother on her deathbed. We told her that she could let go and she could go to God. And it wasn't a couple seconds later that she took her last breath, opened her eyes, and she looked up, and it was like she was looking past us. And it was in that moment my sister and I both felt God around us and that she was going to heaven. It was beautiful. Yeah.